Hello and welcome to Control Alt Record. My name is Chris, and with you for this episode from the team is Grax. We'll just be the two of us because we do actually have a special guest with us for this week. His name is Roger, and he is from the Button Mash podcast. Hey guys, how are things?
Hey, he's very special, Roger. Very special.
Very special guy.
Welcome, bud.
I hope you mean special in a good way. But thanks for having me on, guys. Very excited to be here.
No, excited to have you on, and sort of returning the favour a little bit. But we'll come to sort of a bit of our relationship later on into the episode. But for
we have a relationship.
Well, it was very short. It was very short.
Well,
it was. Yeah, poor choice of words, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I dig myself a hole here quite quickly. So what we'll do is we'll just get our introductions out of the way. Of course, for our listeners, please jump on to our social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/Control Alt Record. YouTube, just search for Control Alt Record. Twitter, our handle is at CTRLALT Record. You can also find me on Twitter if you search for @Herdy _CTRLALT. You can also find Grax. He is at Lord Grax, or is it _Grax? I can never
underscore. That's okay.
I can never remember. Gmail is just CTRLALTrecord@gmail.com, and Instagram, just search for CTRLALT Record. If you do forget the spellings, you of course can find all the correct spellings for these platforms in the description of this video, as well as on Twitch, which we are now here. So if you are a podcast listener on your mobile device, or maybe you listen to podcasts via websites, head over to twitch.tv/Control Alt Record. And look, we do these live now, so that's a new thing for us. So come over, give us a follow, give us a like, have a chat, as we would certainly love to hear from you. Roger, yourself, Button Mash, what's your social media details, your credentials? Let people know where they can find you.
So best way to find us would be follow myself or Chris on Instagram. So I am at Hangs with Rog. That's one word, HANGSWITHROG. And Chris is Cristofini.gaming. That's CHRISTOPHINIE.gaming. We have a website, so you can find us at buttonmash.com. buttonmashpod.com, sorry. Can also email us at buttonmashpod.com.
Cool. Well, the best thing to do is we'll also include all your details in the description link of this episode as well, so people can go and check it out. But look, that's out of the way. As always, we like to start the show with a bit of gaming news for you. And some of this news is actually been, I think, a bit of a cold week, particularly I think last week there was the announcement of Activision and Bungie split, so everyone was like blowing their minds out of that. Now, I did actually go into, I think in our last episode I probably talked for like 15-20 minutes straight without taking a breath when I was talking about Activision and everything that was going on.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, but look, Activision are back in the news again today. So They just give people like us and other content creators just ammunition and just content, really, don't they? So, look,
that's pretty much all they're good for, to be honest.
Look, Grax, you weren't with us last week. It was just Brett and myself, and of course, Roger, your time is with us tonight.
I wasn't here last week either for some reason. Bit weird. Bit unusual, but yeah.
on the Activision Bungie split, I'll try not to do too much of the talking on this because I did that last week. But what are your thoughts? What are your impressions? And what goes through your mind when you saw that news?
Me personally, I was surprised. Like, not surprised at the split, but surprised that Bungie were able to hang on to Destiny. I thought that was that must have taken some legal wrangling, I reckon, because EA's got a pretty bad reputation with that kind of stuff. They, take over things and push them into the ground. So I was quite, I guess you could say, pleased to see that. Like, we've talked about Destiny a lot and how good a game it is and its pros and cons. But yeah, it's nice to see someone be able to get out from underneath EA and go back to doing. Sorry, Activision. My bad.
We'll come to that in a minute.
To do what they want to do with their company. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in the future with them. Like, whether they merge with someone else or whether they're going to stay out on their own for a while. I'm very curious to see how it progresses.
We'll come to yourself in just a second there, Roger, but I think the actual initial plan for Bungie is to go self-published. So they want to publish Destiny themselves. So that is the current plan. We'll see how that actually pans out for them.
So I'm curious to see how they'll go.
Roger, do you play Destiny at all? Have you dabbled in it?
I did. I think when you guys won the show, that was when the Forsaken DLC was coming out, and I had played a bit of it. I really enjoyed Destiny 2. Same for Destiny 1. I played quite a bit of it. And I saw the whole thing as... I'm hopeful. I see it as a positive thing, as in sort of Activision being the sort of, the overseer, making them do certain things. I'm hoping the whole microtransaction thing is coming from Activision, and that will sort of go away once they're on their own and self-publishing and that sort of stuff. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing with the whole microtransactions. That's got to be Activision's influence. I think when you sort of saw Blizzard games, particularly in like World of Warcraft, for example, their in-game store started to see a lot more purchases that you can get online for that game. As soon as Activision took over Blizzard, all of a sudden, like Blizzard started to go that way with WoW, but as soon as Activision got involved, all of a sudden there were a lot more. There was a lot more content to buy in game. Particularly more recently, with WoW, there was a particular bundle that Blizzard were advertising, or Activision Blizzard were advertising for like pets and mounts and things like that, where they kind of go, "This is now," they were taking what people believe is the lowest purchased in-game items and have packaged them to go, buy all these. In-game items, limited time, because after that they're gone, and to try and I guess generate that scare tactic of
forced exclusivity.
Yeah, and but if you actually go, there was actually a page from Blizzard that if you scroll to the bottom and the fine print was basically, please note that in the future these items may come back. Even though there was like big advertising to kind of go, this is it, this is your last chance, and it's just like, oh, okay, so
yeah, so
that's Activision.
People won't fall for that one again, hopefully.
No. You can only hope. But look, Destiny, with Bungie going self-publishing, they are going to have to look at some ways to keep themselves financially afloat. And I think it'd be a miracle if microtransactions left Destiny. I think it's in there. It's been in there for so long. And I don't think players will have an issue with microtransactions if it is, I guess, executed correctly, and we're actually getting content, So, who knows? Who knows? So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like we said at the beginning, and see how it goes, where it progresses. Exciting times, but may not be too much of a change for Bungie.
Hopefully not. But also, like you, Grax, you sort of said about how, how Bungie were able to hang on to the Destiny franchise. When you actually look at when Bungie split from Microsoft held on to Halo, which was a Bungie
That's
game.
what I mean. Like I was surprised. Not surprised because Destiny's, I think, a lot bigger than Halo, and Halo fans are going to shoot me for that, but Halo's a great game. There's lots of it. It's all the good stuff. But yeah, I feel like Destiny is a lot more up to date, a lot more.
It's the evolution.
Bigger player base. It is. Basically is.
Dare
really.
I say?
It's not a big reason for Activision to hold on to it, though. I would have thought. I was really surprised when I heard that Bungie got to keep Destiny.
I do. Okay, I'm just going to go, just because I don't want to miss out on this pun, because I feel the moment's kind of just slipped away now. Where
you had to explain it. It's gone.
I know it's moved on, but I felt it was a good one.
Okay,
Grax, where you sort of said, like, obviously Destiny is the next thing from Halo. It's a step up, and I was about to say, dare I say, it's Halo evolved?
Bulltish.
I know, that was pretty bad.
You're not even a dad, and you're doing dad jokes.
I know. I know. So yeah, but like I say. But Activision saw Destiny 2 as a failure in their eyes particularly when Forsaken came out. And I sort of did go onto this in last week's episode, but I just feel like it's something that does need to be reiterated when you look at Activision and their practices, when it's like they consider Destiny 2 sort of like a failure, a disaster. It didn't work because when Forsaken dropped, they put the amount of man hours they put into Forsaken. So when they were looking at it from a cost per head from a resource perspective and manpower, it cost obviously X amount of dollars. But of course, Forsaken was like one of the best updates that Bungie have offered the Destiny franchise. Everybody loved it. So from a gamer's perspective, it was amazing. From a financial perspective, not so good. Is
that because it didn't make as much money as Activision needed, or
I think it made money for Activision. It made money. The problem is it didn't make as much as it could have because they put more effort into the content that therefore required more man hours. So the actual cost of what they made back versus what they spent to make it was just not as big.
That's a win for gamers everywhere, mate. That's all you want out of a game that's good, fun to play. And the developer puts time and effort into it, not slapstick shit that they throw against the wall and say, "Here, pay for it."
Yeah, exactly. Any last minute thoughts on that particular thing before we sort of move on to the actual Activision news bit?
I think we're good on that.
I love it.
Right. So the other thing about Activision this week is, or recently, that's been sort of reported that I've sort of seen on Eurogamer. I'm sure probably Kotaku have done something as well, but Eurogamer is what I came across. So we did, I think in a previous episode, bring up how Activision was selling in Call of Duty for $1 was the red dot in a reflex scope for their weapons.
Yep,
so
I remember that.
A scope, like a dot, a red dot, literally a dot for $1. So they've expanded on that. And now Activision are looking to sell in Call of Duty a smiley face for £1.79. So
on your scope reticle.
On your scope reticle, that's right. A smiley face, like a neon sort of coloured smiley face. That is it. And
fuck off.
Yep. I think that was just everyone's sort of thoughts entirely there. But this is ridiculous. Is this Activision's response to we've lost Destiny? How can we make money?
We need to make money another way. Let's sell some reticles. Genius.
Yeah, thoughts. I mean, Grax has given his thoughts. I think it was fuck off.
Sorry, do you need me to say it again? All I could think when you were saying that was, like, I'm used to be a massive Call of Duty fan. Like Call of Duty 1, 2, I didn't play 3 because that was PlayStation, but Modern Warfare was my favourite by far, the first Modern Warfare. And I just fell in love with that game. It was so good. And as it's evolved over time, it's just become, we've talked about this many times, it's just become the same shit every year. This year we're going to add a little bit of a space element and you can jump off walls and shit like that. But, it's basically the same. But in almost every single game, at least the ones that Treyarch have done, you could, all of those reticles and stuff are unlocks in the game. So they're trading the stuff that you got for free in all the previous games. Now we're going to charge you $1 here, $1.50 there. It's like, guys, fuck off. We've paid for the game. Just give us the shit. I've had enough, really.
Yep. Roger, thoughts, input. What do you reckon?
Be honest, the way I see things is if a game asks me to pay for something and it doesn't affect Loop in any way, so it doesn't make me any better whether I have that reticle or not, I don't really give a shit, to be honest. It's like, all your skins in whatever games. As long as it's just that, I'm fine. If it becomes pay to win, that's when I start having a problem. I mean, I could go into the game and, not go anywhere near that section where you buy the reticles and I can still play the game.
I think...
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, look, I take a very similar stance in the microtransaction sort of discussion where if it doesn't affect the game, gameplay, it doesn't give me an advantage, then it's fine, whatever, it's cosmetic. And I get that. But I guess, in this particular case, this smiley face is only obtainable. So if you are, say, like a collector of skins and bits and pieces, this is only available if you pay for it. It is being reported that it's not actually going to be available in the game. Yes, it's cosmetic, fine, but I don't know. To me, I'm just getting really fed up with the likes of Activision and EA just continuing to push boundaries, and they're just pushing boundaries. And there'll come a time where it's just like, no, now you need to actually pay for this gun. I think didn't EA do that a little bit with Battlefield, where there were with the battle packs in terms of you could level for it, or here you go,
or you can have a booster pack or whatever. But yeah, I was just going to say, like, I was and have been and kind of still of the same thought as what Roger was saying, where as long as it doesn't affect the game and all that, and it's cosmetic, like that was my position for a very long time, and we've discussed this lots in previous podcasts. But I'm now starting to come around to the point where I still hold that view. If the items that you're paying cash for are cosmetic in some way, but if they were previously available in a different version of a game in an earlier version of the game, that's kind of taken a stab from my point of view. Like, give us something new, some new cosmetic that you couldn't get before. Like, change your pants, change your camo on your clothing, change your boots, different helmets, different body skins, or something that wasn't previously available, something new and shiny that you can only get with dollars. That doesn't affect the gameplay, but you know what I mean. That's where I'm trying to go with that.
Something you've already designed and it's in the game.
Yeah, when it's in a game or a previous version of the game, and then they try and make you pay for it on the next iteration or the next patch or the next DLC, you just go, come on, guys, use your brain. Give me something new and exciting to pay for that I can only get via this way, that's cosmetic only and doesn't affect how I play with other people. Sure, no worries. Okay, I realize you guys want to make more money, and if I want to vote with my wallet, I will. But yeah, it just seems to be getting worse instead of better. Yeah. And like we've spoken about it before, where free games that need the pay for this, pay for that to actually fund their development and their ongoing patching and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. That's a valid way to earn money for your product, because you're giving it to everyone for free. But when you pay premium price for a AAA game and it's DLC or it's yearly pass or season pass or whatever the hell it is, and then they're chucking in more little tidbits here and there, here, dollar there, like that's just a kick in the balls, in my opinion.
It is. But it's the world that we now live in, unfortunately, and I don't think it's going to... Well, I hope it goes away. I hope it does. And I think the likes of EA and Activision, I hope, are starting to sort of realize this, particularly after Activision's last sort of plummet in terms of their stock prices. I mean, that was after the Bungie split, so they lost Destiny 2. But hopefully, with the backlash that EA got over the Battlefront 2 debacle with their microtransactions, that was literally pay to win. I just hope that they do sort of take this on board and they do something about it. Because one thing I did sort of mention last week, it's not about the senior executives. Fuck those guys. They're the ones that are screwing it up for the rest of us. But it's the people who work and the employees that work in these companies on the sort of the lower levels that this is their job. They need this. And when Activision stocks prices, absolutely plummet by like $40 or something like that, it was something ridiculous, from $80 to $40 or something like that. It's a heavy hit. And the first thing they're going to do is most likely lay off people.
And then release more crap to try and make up for the money they lost.
Or just,
or rush more unfinished games.
So, any other thoughts, comments on Activision and that little bit?
No, Your Worship.
Nope.
I'm just like you said, but the whole Battlefront 2 was now over a year ago.
Yep.
And I was hoping with the whole, some countries changing their legislation over that sort of thing, with the whole loot box thing compared to gambling, that sort of thing. But it doesn't seem to have done that much.
It hasn't really made a dent, has it? And like in Battlefront 2 in particular, I was super excited for until all that shit went on with the loot boxes. Like, I'm a massive Star Wars nut, love it. I can tell you ridiculous amounts of Star Wars trivia, and I just love pretty much any Star Wars game. But complete boycott on that one. haven't even looked at a video for it. It's just
wow, that bad, huh?
Yeah, not happy, Jan. But it is what it is. Like, we can hound it to death. Like, you got to vote with your wallet, and it's one of those things where people like us kind of get it, but your teenagers and parents buying kids Christmas presents, they don't really get that side of it. So that's where people like EA, Activision, and all these big AAA publishers that are using this marketing tool, they're always going to win up to a certain degree with that, because they'll get the customers that are unaware of the shit that goes on behind the scenes. But that's life.
On to maybe some happier news. I think Rocket League should be going cross-platform across everything, including
everything,
including PlayStation. So PlayStation and Sony have been really big on basically being against cross-platform. They're like, no, we are the premium console, so if you want this, come get this. That was kind of their view. I very much dumbed that down, but they are. It looks like Rocket League is officially going.
That's pretty accurate.
Cross-platform. Now, at the moment, I don't think we have an exact date. Now, this is a news article that
it's live now.
Is it live?
I opened up the Rocket League videos game page just before. I'll read it to you if you like.
Yeah, okay.
With special thanks to all our friends and colleagues at PlayStation, we are thrilled to announce that starting right now, Rocket League has entered cross-play beta program. So it's in beta. It's not full release for everyone, but they're working on it. So players on PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and Steam can now randomly matchmake with or against each other, all in online matches in all types, casual, competitive, and extra modes.
Cool.
So all you need to do is make sure that crossplay is enabled by default in the main menu, and off you go. That is sensational. There needs to be more of that.
It is a good step in the right direction. Roger, I think you're about to say something there.
I was just agreeing with Grax there. I think it's it's great. I mean, when Fortnite sort of broke through, it's really the only game that could have done it, right? Like, being that massive. It was one of our predictions on my show there. I was saying that I think with the whole Epic Games, trying to push out their engine, I think that we'll see a lot more of that, and I really hope we do. I have seen some other games that are coming out pretty soon that have cross-platform, but not including PlayStation again, when I thought, with the whole Fortnite thing, it would just open the floodgates. But I'm not sure what's involved in making that happen, but obviously can't be that easy if some games still can't,
I guess it depends on the type of game. Yeah. I guess it depends on the game. I think something like, with the Fortnite, do you know, is that going to be cross-platform for consoles and PC? Do we know that?
It already is. It has been for a while,
No.
Even you can even play it on tablets, I think. It's
your
still
phone, yeah.
Yeah, no, I knew the platform, the cross-platform was a thing, and it was already in. I just wasn't 100% sure on if it was like, okay, I'm on PC, you're on a PlayStation, can we verse each other type thing? Because to me, if I was a console player, I would not want to be going up against PC players. Like, to me, I feel PC players have way more of an advantage in first-person shooters.
You can filter that. If you want to have play against keyboard and mouse, or turn that off.
Right, okay. I guess we're saying like Rocket League is maybe not as necessary, purely because it's remote control cars. It's not fine precision of scoping someone, essentially, where it's just like I have a vehicle and I just need to hit the really big ball. I don't, I think even on PC, when I played Rocket League, it was with a controller anyway. So I think if you're actually playing Rocket League on PC with a keyboard, you're probably putting yourself at a disadvantage because of the way it does handle. So, but that's cool. I think that's good. That, Sony, okay, Fortnite's out there, Rocket League's out there. Maybe Sony's going to be a bit choosy by the sounds of it. Like you said there, Roger, with there's certain games that aren't getting it over the line, and maybe it just needs to be really popular games.
Maybe, yeah.
So there's a Power Rangers game that's coming out in April that's got cross-platform with everything, and you can bring up your saved game from one console to the other.
See, that's awesome. Like, regardless of whether you like the game or the genre, that to unite gamers together to be able to play your favorite game with your friend who, for whatever reason, doesn't have the same system as you, is sensational. There needs to be more of it. Like almost every game every modern day game that is made now is usually on PC made with controller support. So, that's one less thing people have to program for their cross-platform stuff. I get that it's netcode and it's that kind of interface between, PlayStation, PC, that kind of thing, because Xbox does it well anyway, because it's bloody PC anyway. But, the more developers can do that, I get Xbox and PlayStation are still going to have their exclusive titles, and, you can't begrudge them that. But for titles that are on every platform, it really needs to happen. It's high time. But the gamers have spoken.
They have spoken. They have. And we've got Rocket League and Fortnite. So
it's a revolution.
It's a start. That's something that when that happened, I was like, when the whole thing about what was it? The first one was, I think, Minecraft, when it was coming out on Switch, and it was saying you can play between Xbox and Switch, and PlayStation was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, well, it's not going to happen. And then the whole Fortnite thing happened. I was like, wow, I'm blown away. And
fingers crossed there's going to be more of it. Fingers crossed there'll be more, because there are definitely games. Like, I would love to be able to, like one of our other hosts on the show, Michael, he just has a PS4. I think, with the likes of Anthem coming up, I will be getting it on PC, but he's getting it on PlayStation. It would be good if that was cross-platform. Something like that should be able to work, because from what we've seen online, from a shooting game perspective, it doesn't really sort of feel like it's high precision like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield. It's more of a,
VE kind of thing.
It's like, what's that?
Even
VE, so you're like...
Yeah, it's more of like the bullet sponges, like your actual enemies and the bosses. They're all bullet sponges, so it's not, a one-hit precision kill. Well, not that we know yet, I guess, but it looks very similar to Division in the way where it's like you've got a ton of health, and I got to take
That's what I was going to say. Like, Division 2 is releasing on every platform. I think it's almost going to be as bad as Skyrim, and you'll be able to play it on your fridge. But like that's a game that could absolutely be cross-platform. Like, I know it does have shooting mechanics and that kind of thing, but you've got the cover mechanic in the game and all that kind of thing. So that that lends itself well to controllers and mouse PC. So, that would be an awesome win for the gaming community if they made that cross-platform fight. Come on, Ubisoft, go for it, man.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It is also Ubisoft. They're just as bad as sometimes at these things.
Sometimes.
So, all right. Now, we've had a bit of good news. We started low. We started with Activision. We went high with a bit of Gamers Unite. Now, let's just come back to reality. So EA has cancelled another open world Star Wars game. Now, Grax, you said it yourself before. You are the Star Wars guy. And I'm looking at your face right now on camera, and you are not looking happy. Talk us through your pain. Talk us through
another Star Wars game cancelled.
Another Star Wars game cancelled. Another open world Star Wars game. Let's go to you first. What was your thoughts when you saw this headline?
Well, my first thought was, which freaking open world game? Because there's been a few, that
they've cancelled.
Like the old Star Wars 1313 that we really wanted to get, that was still in Coruscant, that we never got.
Yep.
And I'm thinking to myself, what was it? Like, because it was previously unannounced, so I don't even think they've actually said what it was going to be. But I just sort of think another one down the toilet. I actually saw a funny meme on Facebook the other day about how LucasArts, over the course of a couple of years, released something, some ridiculous amount of Star Wars games, and everyone loved them. And
20 games
in the same time frame, EA have done 2.
Yeah, Battlefront and Battlefront 2.
Yeah, so and that's no disrespect to people like DICE and their effort in the graphics and the programming and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just another example of publishers doing the gamers wrong. That being said, Star Wars: The Old Republic is still going. I haven't played it for a long time, but at least that's still hanging around. But the suspicion is, in places that I've seen, the suspicion is that LucasArts and Disney and whoever else has got their hand in the pie at the moment are considering giving the IP to a different publisher, which could be interesting. I don't know who it'd be.
There's a bit of online sort of calls for that, is to get that out of EA's hands and into someone else's. Who knows? Yeah. I think it needs to go to CD Projekt Red, to be honest. That's where I'd like to
that would be sensational. Or just open up LucasArts again. You know what I mean? Like, get some devs back and control your own shit for, again. And just start pumping it out. Because most of the LucasArts stuff, like, we're going back a while and graphics weren't that good and all that kind of thing, but pretty much all the LucasArts games were really playable and really addictive. So, yeah, of course. When you... And they're more invested in it because they're invested in the story and the actual IP as opposed to the cash benefit side of it. But anyway, that was my take.
Yeah, Roger, your take when you came across this.
So as far as I understand there, so it was the one that Visceral was working on. Then they shut down Visceral, gave the whatever was left of what Visceral was working on to EA Vancouver, who then worked on the open world game, turned into an open world game because EA wasn't happy having a linear kind of adventure game.
Yep. Because apparently single player,
because it was
story games are rubbish.
That's right.
Well, don't make them enough money, but anyway, sorry, Roger.
No, that's all right. So now it's become too big and they scrapped it. So the thing is, I kind of like, I was getting over it, the whole Visceral thing, because that really upset me. I was really looking forward to what Amy Hennig could have brought to the table there. And then, now they're telling me that whatever was left of that is now gone as well. Well,
yeah. So I think
saying that they're moving the assets or something. They're going to keep using the assets for something else or whatever they were saying in their report.
Yeah, so look, being reported by Kotaku, one of the updated reasons as to why this was actually sort of cancelled was because the project itself was taking so long to complete, and it wasn't going to be completed within EA's time frame to release a new game. So they've basically gone too long, cancel it, and let's just make a smaller Star Wars game. So that needs to sort of be released within our time frame. There's speculations and rumors that it's meant to be sort of late 2020, so late next year is when they wanted a Star Wars game to come out, and that's not going to be the case with this open world one. So they're like, scrap it, something smaller. And move on to the next thing, which is basically what EA do. Just get something done and get it out the door. So
and don't care what quality it comes out in and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, patch it later.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and there was also some other sort of potential sort of rumors in terms of the type of game that it was going to be. So there were sort of employees or ex-employees from EA Vancouver that were working on it, and it's been rumored that what they're saying is that you were going to be sort of in its early development, we're going to be sort of playing as either like a scoundrel or a bounty hunter exploring, planets and the open world and vastness of what roaming around a planet could be, working with different factions across the Star Wars universe. So that was kind of a potential idea in its early development as to what it was going to be about. But we will never know. What we'll probably get next year is a mobile game.
You guys have got mobiles, don't you?
Exactly. You got mobiles? Fucking assholes. But yeah, so look, very disappointing because we haven't had a good, solid Star Wars game in a while. Grax, you did mention about Star Wars: The Old Republic. That was the MMO. That was quite good. That was fun. That was I put quite a lot of hours into it. You probably put more.
Me too. Oh yeah.
Did you ever touch on that one, Roger? The Old Republic there?
Played a little bit, maybe a couple of hours. So.
Couple of hours. Is MMOs not maybe your thing?
No, none of them have really grabbed me. It's always something that I've been looking at from the outside and, really wanting to get into, but none of them have really grabbed me. Now, the problem I had with this one is I tried it pretty late in the sort of lifespan, and there was some sort of deal where, like, you can only play a certain amount before money and do some of the things.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well,
I think that was
play something else.
Yeah, that was one thing I think with the Old Republic, that they eventually went sort of free to play, but they still put a lot of the features behind. No, you got to subscribe to do this. But then at least it was a subscription and not a pay for this or pay for that. I mean, they still had an in-game store, of course, but a lot of the main features of the game and the gameplay and the core gameplay was locked behind a subscription fee, essentially. So, bit sucky there. But I think it is still going. It's still going. It's
it is. Yeah.
So
they're regularly updating it. Like I know a few people still play, so it's still kicking on.
Now, just our last bit of news. That it's not really a news article, but it's an indie game that has come across my attention sort of yesterday. That has just released on Steam. It's called The Hong Kong Massacre. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've watched this trailer, and the trailer looks absolutely awesome, and it's something that I just want to maybe just like more of a spotlight, keep an eye on this space, and it's something that I'm keen to check out. So what the Hong Kong Massacre is, if you've ever played or seen Hotline Miami, I know that's something Brett has played and he on the show, and he loves it. He loved Hotline Miami. It's sort of like a top-down shooter action game that is just, you run into buildings and just blowing shit up. Now, I never actually played Hotline Miami, but I have seen it. With the Hong Kong Massacre, it's very similar to that, but it's just the fidelity of the graphics are so way more improved. There is so much going on, and it really looks, from the trailer anyway, that there's a ton of polish that's gone into this game. So there is a lot happening. There is explosions. There is vibrancies of different colors going on. Meanwhile, while you're sort of flipping and dodging while shooting guns and just blowing things up, and for everything that's going on screen, it just looks super well polished so far. So I don't know what the story's about. I don't know anything about that. I just went, shit, there is stuff going on the screen, and there's explosions, and it looks super, just, really refined. I need to check this out. I haven't had the chance yet. So did you guys ever check out Hotline Miami? I just watched that.
I bought Hotline Miami 1 and 2 only because you got special unlocks in Payday 2.
Okay.
And I sad to say that I've never played them, but based off what you just said, I might have to give them a look. Well, because they sound pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure Brett was on it, and I'm pretty sure he quite thoroughly enjoyed it. Roger, Hotline Miami, did you ever touch base on that one? Did you ever play it?
I did. I played number one. I played it a fair bit. It was a really fun game. So the whole thing is like sort of, pixel art graphics there, top down, like you said, short levels where you go in, you got to kill everyone, get to the other end of the level kind of thing. But it's really quick, kind of like Super Meat Boy in that way, whereas like if you fail, you just quickly go back to the start and you try again.
Yep.
Really cool game. I don't know how you got number 2, because
banned.
As far as I know, it was banned in Australia. I couldn't get it. But
there were, on the Payday 2 website, there was a link or something you could get it.
Why was it banned?
Okay.
Too violent, I think it was.
Too violent.
Content. Violent or sex, I can't remember. One of the two. Both probably.
The bane of any gamer's existence, violence and sex, because that's usually what gets games banned.
Yeah, but we have an R rating in this country for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. We're supposed to
have one here. Oh,
yeah.
So, but look, it's the Hong Kong Massacre. It's just on my to watch list. I want to keep an eye on it because it just the trailer blew me away. I think I saw like just a little 30-second video of it, of the gameplay on Twitter, and I was just like, wow, this looks absolutely cool. It looks awesome. It's from like a Swedish developer. I need to see if I can actually quickly find them, because, like I said, it's
Vreski.
Sorry,
Vreski. I'm looking at it now.
Oh, yeah, you found it? You found them?
Yeah. Vreski is the developer and publisher.
Phone's not loading it. I have to take your word for it. So look, it looks
$26.
Cool. Right.
10% off.
So, That's it for the news section. As always, our news goes for a ridiculous amount of time. News is meant to be short.
Sometimes whole episodes.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a bit of the spotlight, a bit of attention onto Roger, find out a little bit more about the other way, Grax.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it's reversed?
Yeah. No, it was. Yeah, there we go. Do it for the camera. So, Roger. Now, we initially we came onto your show last year at one point onto Button Mash to have a conversation, have a chat with yourself and Chris. Thought it was about time that we return the favor, get you on our show. Now that you're here, let's get you to tell us about yourself, tell us about your podcast and your show, what you and Chris are about, so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more. So I'll pass it over to you.
Oh, so really happy to be on with you guys. I was really excited. You guys have been great. I mean, we kept in touch. We met each other at PAX, which I thought was, one of the great things about doing this podcast. It's, the podcasting community is just, amazing. But yeah, basically where we started is Chris and I have been friends for over 10 years now, and something that we can always relate to is video games, obviously. So what we used to do, and we still try to do to this day, but it's a little bit harder now, is every Friday night I would go to Chris's house, bring whether it would be my PlayStation or my computer, and we would just have a good old-fashioned sort of LAN party between us two and play whatever game was, the hot shit at the time, whether it would be played a lot of Minecraft, things like Call of Duty or first-person shooters, that sort of stuff. And one thing that we always thought when we were hanging out on the Friday night was the conversations that we were having. We always thought like we were the funniest people on earth, and we thought, what if someone else could listen to our conversations? What do you think they would think of what we're saying? And
and from there
we always try to start something. And I did a bit of YouTubing for a year or so, and did another podcast, and then we finally decided to do our own thing last year, and it's been great fun.
So when did you YouTube? What did you focus on? Was it sort of Let's Plays? Was it guides?
YouTube?
Yeah.
So a bit of everything. So it started with some Let's Play videos, sort of moved to a couple of other things where we just talk about. I tried to have a couple of friends over on there and just talk about, TV shows and all sorts of stuff. And then, I fell off that a bit, and started doing the podcasting gig because it's much easier to do, just having to edit the audio.
It does have a it's definitely a lot easier sometimes with the editing of a podcast. That's one thing that although initially, like I know when we started, it was a bit like, what the fuck are we doing? How does this even work? So going back to, like you say, PAX, we did get to meet each other for the first time, which was absolutely awesome. And like I say, I think the podcast community, and I think just PAX in general, is just an absolute amazing sort of experience. If someone has never been, you've got to absolutely go. Big tip, big warning: if you go on a Friday, do not lose your wristbands. So this is a problem that Brett and I fell into. So when you go to PAX, you're given an entry wristband to so the door people know that you've already been in. So what happened is we went on the Friday, and we went out drinking on the Friday night, had a few drinks, and got back, and we both ripped off the band, the band or the wristband. Went back on the Saturday morning, and we were like, cool. So where do we go? They're like, oh, do you have your wristbands? And we're like, no, we took them off.
You're
like,
kidding.
No, you have to go line up now. And that's that. But see, the difference is, line up doesn't sound so bad, but on the Friday when we got there was, you were straight in the door, basically. You were in within 20 minutes type thing. It was very quick. When we went back on the Saturday, the line was out the door. Literally the queue was snaking down the sort of the grassed area next to the convention center. And because we took our wristbands off, we had to line up. If we had kept our wristbands on, we could have cut the line because we had already been the previous day and just gone straight to the door and gone in. So if you are going to go to PAX this year and you're there on the Friday, do not take your wristband off, or get there super early on the Saturday, or you're basically screwed. You're screwed. Biggest tip: do not lose that wristband if you're on the Friday. But look, we were at PAX. We did get to meet for the first time, particularly after us coming onto your show. What was your highlight of PAX? Because we kind of only saw each other very briefly. I think you were queued up for maybe the Division at the time or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Division 2. Yeah.
And then after that,
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, then after that, we didn't really get to sort of see each other because you guys were there for the one day. So what was your highlight of PAX?
Honestly, just meeting you guys and the other guys at the sort of the booth that we recorded at. It was really great. I mean, we didn't get to play many games because lining up is a bit of a nightmare. But it was just great meeting people. Meeting people from the community. Going for the 3 days. I'm glad you told me about your little anecdote from the Saturday, because I did not know that, and I probably would have done the same thing.
We were taking the wristband off, and then you rock up on the Saturday, and you're back, and you do not lose that wristband. It is like
a nightmare.
It is like gold, that thing. It actually probably would have been quicker for us, in hindsight, now that I think about it, to have walked back the 10 minutes to the hotel, looked in the bin, grabbed the wristband and walk back, because we were in that line for I think a good 45 minutes to an hour because of that. So it was long. I mean, it moved efficiently. It was maybe an hour is over exaggerating, but yeah,
it was entertaining looking at all the cosplayers too. Like there was, we weren't bored, but yeah, it does cut some time out of you lining up for other games time.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. That's right. Another tip: go on a Friday. You think it's busy on a Friday? It's not as busy as a Saturday. So,
I tried to warn Brett about that. He didn't believe me.
Yeah. Are you planning on going back to PAX this year?
Definitely, yeah. So we will be going for the 3 days this time, because one day is definitely not enough. We kind of thought, there's no way we're going for 3 days. That's a bit of overkill.
No,
we were so wrong.
Yeah,
so wrong. We played like 3 or 4 games.
Yeah. Well, we did Friday and Saturday, and I think we did that last year, and we did Friday and Saturday a couple of years before that. This year, 3 days. Definitely going to do 3 days. Have to absolutely do it. So but look, going back to your talking about your Friday night and your LANs and things like that, and that's really where that inspiration and idea of doing a podcast sort of came from. Where did you then start to sort of come up with a name, and how long did it take you? Because I think naming things can take forever. How quickly did you come up with Button Mash, and what was your sort of process to coming up with the eventual name?
Okay, so Chris is amazing at coming up with names. So I basically thought about doing the whole podcast before I even told him about it, right? So because I already had a bit of background in, actually getting stuff out there, being a content creator, and I sort of thought of, different names we could use, and then I went, hey, look, would you like to, do a podcast with me? And he was like, yeah, I would love to. And I just opened it up to him. Do you have any ideas in terms of names for the podcast? And within, I think it was like 5 minutes, it was like Button Mash. And I was like,
done.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it is.
So
yeah, I was like, I've been thinking about it for like a week, and you just killed all my ideas.
Yep.
Button Mash is perfect.
Done. And it's actually, considering how like the term Button Mash is like, I would have thought that would have been taken. Because you talk about mashing your buttons.
There are a few. I don't think they lasted. If you look at Button Mash, there are a few, but they're not ongoing. So
right, okay. So
the last one's standing.
What is? I mean, with your podcast, what is sort of the idea behind your sort of content, and what is it that you bring sort of your listeners that is sort of unique to you guys? Like what do you want out of your show essentially?
It's similarly structured to what you guys have. So we open up same as you with the news, and then we'll basically talk about what we've been playing during the week. What we're trying to do now is every month we'll have what we call our flavor of the month episode, and it's themed towards something that's happening that particular month. So next week, for example, we've got our Australia Day special.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the episode is going to be themed around Australia, right? And then you got February will be Valentine's Day, so we'll do like sort of, you know, romance in video games, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so that sort of stuff. We also try to do at the start of the month, talk about the games that are coming out during that particular month. That's something we started doing in January there, and that we're going to keep doing moving forward. Just try to bring a bit of, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what we try to bring to the table there. Just a bit of fun. It's just we just want it to be sort of, you know, casual. It's just two friends talking about games, and once in a while we try to bring some people on board. And obviously we had you guys as our first guests on our 10th episode. Sorry. That was really fun. So that's another thing that we're trying to do a bit more, open it up to the community kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep. So that was certainly a lengthy episode, that's for sure. I think
it's still our longest episode.
It's the longest that Brett and I have ever sort of been on as well. I think, what was it?
3 hours and
2.5
minutes.
It was something absolutely crazy. Because I mean, one thing that, you know, like we sort of say is when we sort of set an agenda, we try to keep the items sort of like to low points, because we try exactly because we one thing that is I think podcasts are so much fun, and particularly when you sort of bring, you know, new personalities onto the show, you never know which way a conversation is going to go. And so of course when there was the four of us, and when you sort of sent that you initially sent us the agenda, and there was like sort of 9 or 10 different items, Brett and I looked at that and we thought, how long is this going to fucking go for? Because we know because we know that just once conversations start, you never know where it's going to go, and that's I think what the great thing about podcasting is you just don't know where something's going to go.
It's something that Chris and I sort of not struggle with, but it always surprises us when we sort of think, oh, there's not enough topics that week. We need to find something to sort of fill in the time there, and we end up talking for like an hour and a half with, you know, 2-3 topics, which
I think, didn't Chris start eating his dinner while we were we could have taken so long?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was 2 hours 25 minutes.
2 hours 25. Yeah, I thought it was around the 2.5 hour mark. Grax, do you have any questions or anything that you would sort of want to bring up?
No, I just wanted to reiterate what Roger said about how cool it was to meet up at PAX and, you know, meet people with similar sort of background, similar interests. It's the beauty of podcasting, and you get to talk about stuff and have fun, and you just never know where the conversation's going to go. Especially with us, like Chris was just saying, we try and set an agenda, and actually, you know, we go off on tangents, and, you know, people start arguments, and Michael gets all upset about something, and then next thing you know, there's a fight. It's interesting. It's, you know, but I do have one question for you, and I hope I'm not stealing Chris's thunder with anything. But Star Citizen, yes or no?
Oh, hold up right there. Wait 1 second, because as part of what I've got planned for Roger next, it kind of comes into it. So don't answer that. Don't answer that yet. Don't answer that yet.
My bad. That's why I sort of prefaced it.
Hold up.
Cool.
Hold up.
All right. So,
it's
no
involved.
But yeah, absolutely awesome to have you here, man. Thank you for coming on, and it's hopefully we can do more of it. It'd be good.
Yeah, we'd love to.
No, of course, we'd definitely have to get you. You know, maybe, you know, hopefully next time. It's unfortunate Chris couldn't join us tonight. Yeah. He did say, you know, unfortunately, real life calls. He's, you know, working.
That's usually my problem.
Yeah, you know, it's we've all got bills to pay. Unfortunately, this thing, you know, it's fun. It's a hobby, and that's sort of as far as it kind of goes. But so is what it is. But we'll get him next time. Sort of coming on. But you know, look, still. So just to what have sort of been some of your biggest challenges? Because what now? So I think when like you said, you were on your 10th episode when we came on. So what are you up to now? How many?
Episode 29 came out today.
You're never catching us. We're only up to 32. Have you fucking nearly done more than us? And we've been going longer. Maybe we're just being slack.
Yeah,
in that,
there's a chance for that.
as every week goes on, what do you find is sort of maybe some of your guys' biggest challenges in the podcasting world, and getting your episodes out? Do you have any sort of main things where you kind of just go, oh, that one time we did this thing, fuck, I wish that never happened, or anything else?
Well, that's the best thing about when they're recorded, so you can edit it later. We have had some sort of incidents that I won't talk about, but thankfully I'm able to cut it out and before I put it out there. But in terms of challenges, it's been mostly fun, really. We've been able to keep it as that sort of hobby and just a fun thing that we do every week, and it's been working out really well for us. We do have a day where neither of us is working. We don't really have any commitments on the Sunday, which usually works for us. And then we have, if that doesn't work for some reason, we always have Tuesday as a backup, and the episode's able to come out on the Wednesday. So it's been working out pretty well in terms of schedule. In terms of content, there's a couple of times, especially at the end of towards the end of last year there, where there was a bit of a dead zone there in terms of news topics, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, we're always trying to fill it in there. So there's a couple of times where we just played some games, like we played 20 questions, where one person is trying to guess what game the other person is thinking of.
Yep.
And yeah, just bring some friends on board and just have a good old chat, really. So yeah, in terms of I can't really think of anything that I would classify as a challenge. Really, it's been all fun so far.
That's I guess it's the best way to sort of keep it. That's for sure. Cool. Well,
once it stops being fun, it starts becoming a job, and all the other baggage that goes with it.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like you look at like streamers, for example, particularly the ones that actually do this as a full-time job, and they play, a fortnight 9 to 5, and but I mean they're getting paid some good money, particularly on Twitch. Like if you're some of the top ones, it's like playing something like the same game over and over again 9 to 5. I could imagine would eventually take its toll. Like you say, as soon as it stops becoming fun, it becomes a job. But then again, they are getting paid, so it is a job. So whatever. So what we'll do is we do have another section coming up we want to talk about what we're sort of anticipating, what we're looking forward to in 2019 in terms of games, what's got us excited. But before we move on to that, we're going to move on to the little bit that I had sort of planned for you, Roger. So what this is going to be, it is going to be a quiz, as Grax alluded to at the very start. It's going to be a very simple quiz. It's meant to be very sort of short and sharp. I'm going to give you sort of 2 words or 2 sort of examples, and the idea is for you to, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, type thing, in terms of what would be your preference. So as an example, if I were to say Sub-Zero or Scorpion, which way are you going?
Okay, right. So then I would go Scorpion. Okay.
That's a wrong answer. There's never wrong answers, but that's a wrong answer. Sub-Zero is the correct answer. Cool. So
that was a trick question. He does that to everyone.
All right. So that's kind of what we're going for. So I've got sort of 10 questions like that. And then what I want you to do is, as we sort of progress with the rest of the episode, have a think of 2 examples of like the same format. So when I have like another guest on, I can use that example and start to sort of, give you the opportunity to kind of go, that has dropped multiple times, Grax. Stop it.
Sorry.
What is that?
It's just like it's USB key. I'm just like spinning it on the desk like a fidget spinner.
Right. So
I'll stop now.
Once we get to the end, have a think about 2 examples that you could give for our next guest, and then I'll add it on to the list as well, so that you can contribute towards the next person's suffering. All right, so let's go. First one: Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Great, good. Now, as a kid, were you a Mario kid or a Sonic kid?
Mario.
Oh, okay. I try to change. I'm changing that one up because I usually say Mario or Sonic, and everyone always picks Mario, and Brett always has to sort of say, well, no one's ever going to pick Sonic, and that's why I'm changing it up to kind of go, were you a Sonic kid or a Mario kid? You might have grown up and preferred Mario, but as a kid, what were you? I was a Sonic kid, so there you go. Fallout or Elder Scrolls?
Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls. PUBG or Fortnite? Oh, lost a bit of audio there. Well, I think that might have been Fortnite based off what you.
Yes,
Okay,
it was
cool.
Fortnite.
I had to do a bit of lip reading there. Aliens or Predator?
Ooh. Oh, that's a tough one.
It's meant to be quick.
Oh,
What
we're
comes
gonna
to-
have to go Aliens.
Oh, Predator. Captain America or Iron
that's-
Man?
Captain America or who?
Or Iron Man?
Captain America.
Captain America? Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Star Wars, all right. Call of Duty or Battlefield?
Getting tougher and tougher. Oh, gonna have to go Call of Duty because I've played more of it. I love both.
Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. And this is the big one. Which do you prefer? EA or Activision?
Oh no!
Oh,
Number 10 always has to be a
below the
tricky. It has to be a tricky.
below the belt.
Okay. Activision.
Activision. All right. Cool. I don't think there's a right answer with that one. But I like to see people's reaction. All right. And the bonus question, Star Citizen, scam or not a scam?
Scam.
Oh,
Has to be a scam. What
out.
is Star Citizen?
Get out.
Oh,
You don't
he's-
know. You really don't
Michael
know.
would love you. Grax and I
Yeah.
are very much on the Star Wars, the Star Trek, Star Citizen. Third time's lucky.
Calm your farm, bro.
Star Citizen bandwagon.
I would love to be proven wrong, but
Well, look, it depends how much I think you maybe someone follows the development of Star Citizen to maybe have their opinion. Michael doesn't follow Star Citizens. He doesn't follow it.
At all.
He just sees it. Yep, there is the marketing and the campaign to get more money out of people, and fair enough from that point of view. Who's someone who's not sort of invested in it or doesn't care for it, you probably would see it as a scam. But for the rest
I
of
wouldn't
us,
say scam. I wouldn't say scam, but I don't think it's ever going to come out fully.
I guess that's the thing, because with MMOs, they're always ongoing. They're always ongoing. Now, I think the latest rumor, Grax, you might be able to confirm if this rumor I've heard correctly, but we are potentially looking at a beta for Star Citizen single player campaign next year.
That's correct.
So
2020 beta in the first half of the year with full release in the end of the year.
Yeah.
So what that means for the actual Star Citizen MMO is that once Squadron 42 is released, a lot of the content and top secret story stuff and things that they're not telling people about has ramifications for what's going to happen in the persistent universe of Star Citizen. So once that's released and public knowledge, all of that stuff can be used in the persistent universe, which should speed that release up quite a lot.
persistent universe being the multiplayer online,
The
MMO
multiplayer
of
side,
things.
the MMO side, yeah.
So
So everyone's got, well, everyone that's invested in the project is very much with keen eyes looking at the roadmap for this year and the beginning of next year
so
with bated breath.
hopefully next year we'll paint the picture on which direction this is going. But you've made your piece. You said it was a scam. We'll leave it at that. So,
You're never coming back, bro. Sorry.
well, that's the thing. Look, you got the first question wrong with Scorpion, that's for sure. So that was just
I've got a statue of Scorpion
So-
sitting right in front of me. I could not say Sub-Zero.
right.
I'm sorry.
Based off that, what question should I be asking the next person? And what tricky question should I be adding to my list of quizzes for the next person? You don't have to answer now, but maybe think, because we've got another section coming up in terms of what are we looking forward to in 2019.
Control Alt Record or button mash.
Ooh. Ooh. So
It's wrong every way.
it's like, should Roger come back? Yes or no? No, it's fine. Have a think about
Once
it.
he pledges for
Was
Star
that a no?
Citizen,
Was that a no, Chris?
No, I said yes or no. That's the answer. So I have a think about it. It'd be good to contribute towards that. So for my next guest, which we'll have next week, I'll put that onto the similar quiz. So 2019, we have a couple of big sort of games coming out this year. Now we want to have a look at is what we're most looking forward to. On Twitter and Instagram, I did put a bit of a tweet and a what's the equivalent? What's the equivalent of Instagram? Is it a gram?
A gram.
A gram. So I put it there to kind of, which are you more excited for? You got Anthem, and then you got Division 2. They're sort of like the upcoming two big ones that people, I guess, are, looking forward to. Which team are you guys on? Are you going Anthem? Are you more looking forward to, or Division 2? Where are you guys at?
You go first, Rog.
I'm getting both, no matter what.
Oh, definitely.
But I think Division's a bit of a known quantity at this point, right? Because we've already played the first one, you kind of know what to expect. So for that reason, I guess I would go Anthem because I'm excited to see what it's actually like.
Okay.
Not having.
All right, so we got I mean, look, I'm in the same. Going to get both, but I do have a preference as well myself. Grax, which one are you more excited for?
I knew as soon as I let Roger go first, being the guest, that he would say exactly what I was going to say. I'm really like from the time they announced Anthem, even though it's EA. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Like my initial feeling of it is it kind of feels a bit like Titanfall, but with a bit more story behind it. So I'm hoping better than that, and I'm sure it will be. But yeah, I'm keen to see what's going on with Anthem. Keen for Division 2 as well. Like we played it at PAX, like you mentioned, and I will be getting both. But yeah, Anthem is the one I'm very keen to see. How it comes. You also got a few other things coming out, but we're boycotting Bethesda at the moment, aren't we?
Oh yes, yep. I'm certainly doing that. But then again, I mean, yeah, that Bethesda, whatever.
Yeah, your canvas bag. Or
I'm still waiting.
Are you serious?
It says 6 months the ticket. Let me open my email. They sent me a ticket saying yes, you'll get your bag in whatever it was, 6 months.
6 months. Look, wow. I'm in the same boat as you guys. I'll be getting both, of course. I'm definitely keen to check them both out, but Anthem is my priority. Now, the good thing is they come out, I think Anthem out is on February 22nd, and where the Division is like March something. So hopefully get a good 15th. Okay, so we've got a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks before Division 2 comes out. Is usually, for me, I'm done with the game within a couple of weeks anyway. So hopefully not. I do want to get some more time. Hopefully I'll get some more time into it and longevity. Brett did already cast his vote. He went with Division 2 is his.
Really?
I think he's more of his play style or preferred gameplay is that more military sort of shooter rather than Anthem being sort of you're in your suits and your mech warrior type suits essentially. But I mean, there has been over the last sort of few days, there has been a lot more sort of gameplay that's sort of starting to come out. EA have recently begun this program, or at least the first I've heard of it anyway. It's called EA Game Changers. So what they do is actually go onto sort of like your YouTube and your Twitch and find influencers, and they actually flew them over to their studios in like. Could have been Sweden, I think one of them said. I can't remember. Somewhere in Europe anyway. And they got to play sort of, they got like, put up in the EA office and they got like a whole presentation done about Anthem. And they got sort of, some game time playing it. And they were able to sort of film about sort of 10 minutes worth of gameplay footage, which they're starting to put up on their channels and things like that now. So there is a bit more gameplay coming out. So initially, it does look cool. I think the mobility is certainly going to be interesting. When you look at it, it does feel potentially or look like it's going to feel potentially like Destiny in terms of there's abilities and you got your guns and you're just sort of running around your open your world shooting shit. But at least with Anthem in the suits and the armor, there's more, so there's flying abilities and things like that. So I think the mobility in this is going to be very interesting because I think the idea is like you can fly anywhere and at any time. I don't think I couldn't see much of an indicator in terms of a cooldown for the ability to fly. So there's what, sorry?
There is some sort of cooldown. So
okay.
I thought it was actually kind of interesting, whereas where your sort of jetpack will sort of overheat. So what you can do is you find like a stream and you just dive into the water, cool down your jets, and then jump back out, keep flying.
interesting sort of gameplay mechanic there, that you're using the environment to sort of help you. I guess, I mean, the one that I was actually watching was someone playing the more of like the magic user, essentially what's the javelin called, the magic one, the storm one or something, where the actual
Stormcaller or something like that,
or is that might be Destiny Stormcaller?
that's a warlock.
That's the warlock, but I think there's a subclass called the storm. I don't know. Anyway, there's the storm one. Was actually part of it is the ability that they have is to fly, and when they fly, they get like a protective shield that reduces damage significantly. So the idea, as the caster or the magic user of the suits, you want to be flying because you get that protective shield. So you probably find, maybe I was just watching too much of that, where it's like, oh, he's always flying, therefore you can always fly, where the other ones don't have that. So maybe, like you say, the cooldown comes into it in terms of longevity of how much you can fly before you need to stop. So between those two, look, Division 2, we did get to play it in PAX, and to me it felt very much like Division 1, but it was a very short gameplay. What were your thoughts on playing Division 2 at PAX?
Going first.
All right, Grax, you go.
Oh yeah, same sort of thing. Like it felt, the environments felt nicer because you were sort of out of the city, out of New York, which was good. The gameplay felt almost exactly the same, and it was a little, not jarring, but a little off-putting for me, like playing it on a console, because obviously I played PC and I've never touched Division on the console. So the first part of doing the demo was trying to learn where all the keys were at, and on the controller, and what did what and all that kind of thing. So that kind of ruined my experience a little bit. Okay. But I don't blame the game for that. Like, that's me not being a console person. The environment felt cool. The combat felt cool. There was a couple of new abilities that were interesting, that I'm looking forward to. I think Brett's character had some sort of sniper UAV type thing, or drone or something that he was cruising around with. That was cool.
Yep.
So yeah, there's definitely some new stuff. Like the gameplay feels the same, but the environment and the abilities look like they've newly improved. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Cool. Rog.
So the demo, as Grax was saying, there was pretty short, so it's hard to make up your mind from just that. It did feel a lot like Division 1, but for me personally, I feel like it's been long enough. I'm sort of, it's been a couple of years or so since I've played the first one there, so I'm cool with having similar gameplay. But since then, I mean, there's been a few trailers and stuff that have shown some of the new things that are coming in, so that's cool. But in terms of trying to gauge it from playing the demo at PAX, but I'm excited. Have you guys seen the stuff about the different dark zones that we're going to have?
I did see that there's multiple dark zones to choose from. That's as far as my awareness goes. Is there any do we know if there's any sort of differences in the dark zone mechanics this time compared to Division 1?
Yeah, so there's going to be 3 of them, and they sort of look different for starters. And also what they've tried to do this time is basically, if you've got some sort of item that would make you, pretty OP compared to the rest of the players, and you just go in and destroy everyone, there's a bit of normalizing that's happening where it makes it a bit more balanced. If you just, instead of having someone who's kind of lower level walk in there and just get destroyed straight away, right? So they've got that, but then it'll basically rotate between the 3 zones. One of them will have the original Dark Zone mechanics, where it's more hardcore between the 3 zones. So if you're more of a hardcore player, you like how it was set up in the original Division, you can go into that zone. Whereas if you just want to, get it, not chill, because it's still the dark zone. You still need to watch your back. Players might be after your gear, that sort of thing. Yeah. But it's a bit more balanced, a bit more fair, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
In that way. So yeah, I think that's cool. It's more attractive to new players, where at the same time the hardcore players, the existing community there, still have that original gameplay loop that they had in the original one by going to that one zone that at the time is more hardcore.
I guess the other thing that is still the unknown, and going back to Anthem, is if there's going to be any sort of microtransaction influence within the game. So one thing I think people need to be very wary of, and this is something that EA has started to do, particularly with Call of Duty, that when Call of Duty released, there were no microtransactions within the game. They didn't open the store. I think people knew there was going to be a store, but there was no microtransactions available at launch, at least for the first month. And what I think a lot of reviewers, particularly on like YouTube, were starting to do was like, yeah, okay, let's review the game. Oh, you know what? Actually, Call of Duty, it's fun. It's I think even like one of the guys that I follow, Angry Joe, he is very much he thought it was a great game and gave it sort of a good review. It sucks that there's no campaign in it. That's gone, the single player. But in terms of the what's it called, Blackout, the battle royale. It's fundamentally a good mechanically sound game. But then what happens? Everyone's like, yeah, great, awesome. But then like a month later, then all of a sudden all the microtransactions came in, and now we're starting to see, £1.79 for a smiley face reticle, type thing. And so now it's sort of like they got their good reviews in. People think, great, let's go get it. Then like a few weeks later, microtransactions. And I just wonder if something similar is going to happen with, Division that's coming out. I mean, Ubisoft what's Ubisoft like with microtransactions? What was that? They haven't been too bad, compared to the others.
They're not as bad as the two main ones, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's the thing. Like once the game releases, you've got to be very careful that all of a sudden a few weeks later, microtransactions are
like they still have them in the Far Cry series. Like they were all 5. Or what was 5 the last one, or was 5 the new one? I can't remember. Whatever the last Far Cry was.
That was the most recent one.
Yeah.
Don't remember. But look,
that's right. The New Dawn's the new one, isn't it? That's right.
What else
that's right.
in 2019? Is there anything else that you guys are sort of looking forward to?
It hasn't been announced as coming out this year, but I'm kind of hoping, and it's probably not, but I really, really, really want Cyberpunk 2077.
I knew you were going to say that.
Really, I want it. I want it now.
So 2019, not future miracles.
Not 3019.
Not 2077. Ooh.
Yeah.
Another one. Another one. I think so far Anthem.
I got nothing.
Yeah, Anthem and Division 2 are the sort of, I think, the standouts, and they're probably in everyone's mind because they're getting marketed and campaigned quite heavily because they're a month and a bit away, a month away for one and a bit longer for the other. So outside of that, there hasn't been, I think, any other sort of major ones that I've been aware of. So Roger, Dave, is there anything that's come across your attention or Chris's attention that he's maybe relayed on to you about what you guys are excited for?
Yeah, so we actually did a bit of a segment on the first episode of the year where we talked about what we're looking forward to, and we had a but basically the major ones I've got Kingdom Hearts number 3, that's coming out next week. You've got Rage 2 in May, I'm pretty excited about. That's coming out in April as well. I'm pretty keen on.
Cool. All right. Hopefully, yeah, look, I mean, I think outside of that, I'm not aware of sort of really anything else. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention because I'm sure there's games coming out all the time. But so yeah, Grax, you want to say anything?
I am interested in the new Far Cry New Dawn. And purely from a standpoint of most people are calling it a Fallout ripoff. I really want to see what they do with it. Like I enjoy the Far Cry games. I think they're fun. The last one I didn't put as much time in because a couple of things bothered me, but the previous ones prior to that were loads of fun, and I put a lot of time into them. So I'm interested to see what Ubisoft are going to do with this New Dawn, whether there is similarities, apart from the setting, similarities to the Fallout series. So I'm keen to check that one out too. I've gone off pre-ordering a bit these days, so I'll just be keeping an eye, if you like. Yeah, that's probably one to watch for me.
Yep. Fair enough. Cool. All right. Well, that I think is going to wrap up this particular episode. There's not 2.5 hours like we did to you guys last year.
Come on, Roger, stretch it, man.
But look, that is our sort of this week. So look, Roger, thank you so much again for coming on to our show to have a chat. It was a lot of fun having you on, and for us, we'll look to probably get yourself and hopefully Chris next time back on later on down the track in the year. Big focus for us this year is really about getting people onto the show and having a chat with them, and bringing some guests on. So, been fun. Glad you're able to sort of come on and have a chat. It was great having you on. So,
thanks very much.
Next week,
absolute pleasure.
Next week, we will actually have a West Australian, a Perth Twitch streamer joining myself. I'm going to have like a one-on-one conversation. So with a guy called Captain Perth. I'm going to start at the top with the captain.
Perth.
So he is a Twitch streamer, and he's part of a WA Twitch community that I'm sort of with as well. So we'll be having a chat with him next week. So stay tuned for that. And then after that, we will be back to a regular show where there'll be myself, Brett, Grax, and Michael. It'll be the first time of the year where the four of us are together. So, and then after that, who knows what will happen. But once again, Roger, be sure to send over to myself or to the Gmail your social media details so we can put them in the description of this episode so people can go and find you. Guys, if you want a new podcast to listen to that is Australian made, of course, go over and have a listen to the guys, Chris and Roger, over at the Button Mash podcast. But for now, thank you again, Roger. We will end the stream. We'll end the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Cheers. Thanks for coming.